welcome to Thursdays at the Museum. I'm Ian Repnicki. I'm a Community Engagement Manager with the DIA. Thanks for joining us for today's program. But before we begin, I want to remind viewers in Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties that general admission into the museum is always free for residents, so be sure to come visit us if you're able to. While visiting the museum, you might also consider visiting the Detroit Film Theater to see a movie. You can find a calendar of upcoming films on our website, dia.org. But today, we're actually going to highlight one of the upcoming DFT films, A Page of Madness, which will be screened on Sunday, October 16th. The 1926 silent film is a uniquely imaginative horror cult classic, which will be brought to life with live musical scoring by Little Bang Theory. And we're fortunate to have Frank Pahl of Little Bang Theory with us today to discuss his work with DIA Music Program Manager Rudy Lauerman. And if you'd like to ask a question for Frank or Rudy, you can do so by signing in. If you're watching on YouTube, just make sure you're signed in and you can leave a comment there and we'll see it. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live, you can leave a public comment there as well. So now let's get started and meet Frank and Rudy. Hey, guys.
Hey, Ian. Thank you. Hey, Frank.
Hey, good to be here.
Welcome to Thursdays at the Museum. We're really looking forward to the live performance with Page of Madness coming up next month. You and I go way back, and I remember the beginnings of Little Bang Theory. I think it was before you guys started working with silent films. It was just more of just recording and live performance. Could you give us a little history of the band and how you got started and how you got into the scoring films?
I hope I'm right about this. We started in 2006, I think, as a quartet, and we were playing music galleries, and Doug Shimon and Terry Saris and I and Claudette Stern were the original members. And like I said, we were playing art galleries, and then like the first gig was in Windsor, and then we were in San Francisco. And it was just really interesting, just taking off from this weird idea where I wrote one piece of music for our first few gigs, and it was about a half an hour long, and it was all based on the white keys of instruments. So if you're a collector of toys, the cheaper instruments are usually just key of C. So it was an exercise in writing for modality. You probably get that, Rudy, because you're stuck with X number of keys. It's kind of harder to move around, but it was a good exercise. But since Doug had a background in advertising, Terry teaches film at U of M. I'm teaching film-related subjects at CCS. We all had this love of film soundtracks. So we started out just learning film soundtracks, and our magnum opus that was in the key of, never mind, it wasn't really in the key of C. It was in the key of white keys. I think that makes more sense because we were Dorian, Lydian, whatever.
So we have a little clip here that we're going to show, which was from a performance here at the DIA, which predates, I think, you guys starting to work with film.
Definitely.
You want to run that clip, Ian?
Coming right up.
was lovely.
Beautiful.
And that's the main theme from Jacques Tati's Mon Oncle, 1958. Winner of something at Cannes Film Festival.
Not original score though, I'm guessing.
No, that's from the original score.
No, I know, but
Right.
You said it was it won some award.
No, it did not win for original score.
Right. I do love his films.
Yeah, I like his oddly joyous scores. You know.
Tell us a little bit about the instruments you're using. I think some of those are you made yourself. Some of them are toys. Maybe you could even demonstrate something.
At that point, it was all toys, and I consider things like glockenspiels toys, even if they're on the pricier side. Same thing with ukuleles. I mean, it sounds stupid to say I have a professional ukulele, but I do, and melodicas, same thing. But yes, the music is very, very different, though. There are some friendly themes in Page of Madness. The instrument that we'll be playing, I can honestly say it was built for. I know you remember this, Rudy, the Lodger, which is one of my favorite. I almost look at it as a commission from the DFT because it's the only feature-length score that we ever learned that we played once. And
you only did that once?
We only did it once, and I forced myself to become the best piano player I can become.
I'm still working on that one.
Well, good, because it's a great goal. But anyhow, I created an instrument for it called the Novello, and you don't know, you know why it would be called the Novello, but for those of you that don't know, the star of The Lodger is Ivor Novello. And the group was curiously smitten with him because he's a ridiculously good-looking guy, like in the Sal Mineo meets Elvis Presley mold. So anyhow, the group was smitten with him, and this instrument, I'm going to adjust this so that we can take a look at it now, is called the Novello. And even though it was written for someone that we were all kind of smitten with, what can I say? It makes scary sounds. And I'm not going to play it more than that because I built this for Terry Saris, who does a lot of the sound effects in the group. And I think it's considerably more musical than just sound effects. But I kind of think of that as being sound effects in a way that I don't know if are you familiar with the movie The Witch or The Lighthouse?
I don't believe I am.
I forgot the director's name, but the soundtracks were made by this gentleman who commissioned somebody to build something called a nightmare machine, and it's not it's a vaguely pitched instrument, but it's mostly for this, just creating crazy sounds. And these are the guts from I'll hold it up a little bit. These are the guts from a toy piano, just attached to an antique box. And these are clock chimes. And I didn't play the gongs for you, but we are definitely going to be using that in Page of Madness.
How much does that thing weigh, do you think?
50 pounds.
Wow.
At least. And then it's got a small bass, and so we put another 20 pounds on the bottom of it so it doesn't fall over. So it's a behemoth, but we need it. We also use a barrel piano in the score, which, pound for pound, I'd far sooner be carrying that around. Barrel pianos are, do you know what they are?
I don't know it.
Please
No.
explain.
It's like an organ grinder monkey. If you have a picture of those where you just crank it, but it sounds like a crazy piano with some percussion accompaniment in it. So it'll play bells and woodblocks also. And that's another one that Terry plays. I don't know why she gets to have all the fun.
What other instrumentation do you have for Page of Madness?
I'm playing all metallophones, which I'll come back to, and Doug is playing mostly percussion and metallophones, and Terry's playing toys. And the toys are also metallophones. So we have some Japanese instruments where they just play these little licks back and forth on toy xylophone. So it's nice to have some Japanese instruments in it, even if they are toys. The choice was, it's hard to start a score, but I'm teaching a film class right now, scoring for film. And I showed Toru Takamitsu this past weekend a documentary about him. And he likes to say that before he starts a film, he likes to find a single sound that is an end point that can be a through line in the film. And since there are ghosts all over this film, and there's an Asian tradition of using bell tones to repel ghosts, I thought I would use bell tones. So metallophones are all glockenspiels, different tuned metal percussions, and I got too many cowbells. I'm bringing too many cowbells too. But it's all metal, and I also think that the bell tone, it's appropriate for not just silent film in general, but specifically for this film because it's a Japanese film with ghosts, wall-to-wall ghosts. Well, that's one way of looking at it.
We had a comment earlier when we played that initial clip in Rivera Court, which was packed full of toys, and Carol said it has an innocence about it, but it sounds like you continue to use toys in maybe less innocent contexts. But I'm wondering, is it all about the sound of the instrument for you, or are you using the familiarity of a toy as kind of an evocative feeling as well, or is it just purely about what object makes the sound you want?
It is what object makes the sound that I want, but in the part of Page of Madness where Terry uses most of the crank toys, it's part of a parade. It's a parade that they follow, and then they end up at a carnival where the janitor character enters into a raffle and wins a wardrobe that he's going to give to his daughter who's about to be married. So it's this festive moment, and it just seems like a good idea to have these almost random toys as if there's a big party atmosphere going on. So Doug at the time is playing a snare drum for the marching band that people are following to go to the carnival. And I'm playing an Asian single reed flute that I don't know what the name of it is. But I bought it, like, whenever I go to Asia, I kind of like, I have to bring back musical instruments.
It's not a shakuhachi, is it?
No, because it's got a concealed reed in it.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
So
this may be a good time to show the clip from the.
It's a really messed up oboe sound. I didn't mean to interrupt. It's a really messed up oboe sound.
Hmm.
Yeah, we do have a clip. We've been kind of talking a lot about the different instruments you use. We've alluded to this film we're going to be screening at the DFT, but combining these two things might be difficult to describe. So we do have a clip of a score that you did for a different film. Do you want to set this up at all? What film is this that we're seeing a clip from?
This is called In Tokyo, and we learned this. It's a film by Yasuhiro Otsu. So we learned 3 Otsu films. I don't know what year it was, but Ichiro Kateoka, which some of the Detroit Film Theater audience might be familiar with, because he did a really bang-up job on I Was Born But. Again, I don't know what year it was, but he did that at the Detroit Film Theater. Were you there, Rudy?
Yes.
Yeah, it was pretty amazing, because one of the things that benchies have to do is be good at. They have to be able to project really well, and his mic went out really briefly, and he just turned into this giant, he had this huge voice, like he was used to filling up clubs, because during the Benchy era, a lot of the films were shown in audiences. There would be audiences in excess of 1,000 people with no amplification. Sorry, I didn't set that up very well. In Tokyo, this was probably made during the early sound era, but then Otsu was one of those directors that was slow to start making sound films. Other than that, I would just say that the instrumentation is very different from Page of Madness, but it's nylon string ukulele, and I don't know what the rest of us are playing. Sorry.
Oh,
Let's give it a listen and a look.
Yeah, we'll see if we can pick out some familiar sounds, but I'll
bet you I whistle.
We'll see. All right, we're going to play a few minutes of this just so we can get kind of a sense of the dynamics of the performance and how it kind of complements the film so nicely. So let's enjoy this little clip.
枯れ果てた日々親子3人疲れ切った顔この辺りなんだがな。じゃあお前たちここで待ってろよな。焦りばかりが募る父。喉乾いたな。おい、俺にもよこせよ。巷には失業者があふれ返っている。救いを求め、あがく毎日。こんにちは。はい。職に破れちまって、使ってもらえませんかね。旋盤の方なら熟練工なんですが。ダメだよ。そうですか。口があると聞いてはるばるやってきたんですがね。気の毒だったね。そこをなんとかどうかお願いします。 じゃん。どうだったい？じゃん。どうしてダメなんだろうね。工場は随分あるけどね。人が余っているのである。おまけに喜八ももう若くはない。お前たち腹減らねえか？そうか。お前は？どうした？おい、まさこ。腹痛えのか？そうじゃないよ。本当は腹減った。息子にこんな我慢を強いている己が情けなかった。あ、じゃん、40銭。やっぱり野良犬だ。じゃん、早く。おお、じゃんがおぶってやるからな。早くじゃねえぞ、ほら。飯、待てー。おお、待て待てー。野犬や拝犬を連れてきてください。一頭につき、成犬40銭、子犬10銭を差し上げます。
Wow. That was great.
That's depressing. Good God, no, my God. So for what it's worth, the one instrument that Doug is playing is a shansin, which is a traditional Japanese instrument. I think he got it from Okinawa, and it's 3 strings. But that's the one that sounds most like a Japanese instrument. And he's probably bowing that, because later he's bowing something. He's either bowing that or a strum stick.
Well, whatever he's bowing, it was beautiful. You could say depressing, or you can just say moving.
It's actually a very poignant film, and not one of his most famous ones, but I really like that film a lot.
I'm curious.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Just the question that came to mind was, in preparing to score a film, do you watch these films countless times? How many times through do you think you saw that thing in preparing to score it?
Before scoring it, dozens. I mean, yeah. I really don't keep track. If you give me enough lead-in time, obviously I will watch it even more times. I mean, the shortest lead-in I ever had was, we were asked to do Nosferatu, because the church organ was being repaired at Michigan Theater, and so they wanted somebody else to do it, but they only gave us like 3 weeks notice. And So that one, I mean, I probably wasn't able to watch it more than 20 times because the hours were dwindling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm also follow-up question. Do you watch the film as a viewer purely, or do you how soon do you start watching it with an instrument in your hand?
I the first time I just skim and I'm going to hang up real quick. Whoops. Sorry.
We're live, folks.
That's why do we have landlines? Landlines.
That's not one of your instruments? I thought maybe that was a demonstration.
No, but yeah, so I start very quickly with the instrument, but watching it and playing along with it. Which and I'm almost anal about being chronological. I always start right at the beginning of the film, and then just kind of work my way through it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about just the way the soundtrack changes the film. I mean, I've seen this film in other, with other tracks, and it's, this becomes a different film. Like I remember seeing, or I had a bunch of the old surrealist silent, the Man Ray films and the Leger films, and I had my own tracks on those, recorded tracks, and watched those films for years in that way. And then I saw Squirrel, the Jim Jarmusch.
I was there, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, those look like different films with the different kind of track,
Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, I think, God, how can I say this without getting in trouble? Or maybe that's not a bad thing. I'm not happy with some versions of Page of Madness that are out there. I'll just say that. I think that the janitor is a sympathetic character. I think the wife is a sympathetic character. The daughter is. The kid is. I mean, so I still treat it like, and I think it's interesting that Ian introduced it as a cult horror film. And it has a lot of the trappings of a horror film. But I still approach it as if you have to have feel for the main character. Chaplin said something kind of brilliant about when, because he composed most of the music for his silent films. And his secret is that he acts like it's not a comedy as far as the music goes. And I think that it's, if you approach Page of Madness and go all the way through it as if it's a horror film, there's no place to go with it. So I think, I have a few themes that are definitely sympathetic for certain characters. And then I extrapolate on portions of the themes, which I know can go in a direction of it being of horror.
So just for those people out there who maybe, all right, it seems like you're using the term theme. So are you suggesting that these songs or these melodies repeat frequently throughout, or maybe every time a character is on screen, you kind of revisit their theme song of sorts, or what do you mean by that?
Yes. So I take a programmatic approach. It's not quite Peter and the Wolf, but it's using that idea and coming up with variations on the theme.
Cool.
Which, yeah, I mean, that I'm a dog. I'm dogged about it. It's kind of ridiculous how, but I also feel like compositionally, for me, it's really fun to make a theme almost unrecognizable.
Maybe you could talk about the tradition of the Benshi and maybe the history of the Page of Madness, but the Benshi in particular from the Ozu film. And we'll have a Benshi at the screening of Page of Madness.
And yeah, I'm glad that you mentioned the O2 film, because did you notice there were at least 2 times where his voice synced up perfectly.
I did notice that. Yeah.
And I just thought, I forgot how good Ichiro was at that particular trait. But anyhow, I'm gonna Page of Madness premiered in July 10th, 1926, with musical accompaniment and live narration by the famous Benshi Musei Tokugawa. Did I mention about the group of artists? I think I already did, didn't I? That produced the film. They were School of New Perceptions. Maybe I didn't. So I'm backtracking a little bit. Oh no, I did mention that. So he was working with these group of artists that it was a writing group, but it was like a writing group that was trying to break from traditional Japanese writing styles. And they wanted you to, the logic of the film to be the logic of senses. Now I think I'm repeating myself a little bit, but I can catch up now. So the live narration when it was premiered was with the famous Benshi Musei Tokugawa. In addition to providing cultural context and extra value for the audience, they also spoke for the characters as Ichiro was doing on screen in a very theatrical style, portraying several characters in the tradition of kabuki and no theater. They were often a bigger draw than the stars of the film. People would actually follow Benshis around. And in 1927, there were 6,818 Benshi, including only 180 women. And there are a few people that audiences may have noticed from that time period. Masao Inoue plays the custodian in a really wonderful performance. And Aiko Minami is the dancer. I had to look at my writing. And we're fortunate enough to have a female Benshi for this performance. And according to our Benshi source, she might be the first woman that's tackled Page of Madness. And her name is Yamauchi Nanako. And I'm looking forward to meeting her Thursday. Her plane arrives. So that's going to be exciting to see her. What else can you say about a Benshi? Sometimes they were a little bit political, so they had to watch what they were doing on stage, because they would sometimes give a very specific context that may have something to do with that's topical. And I don't know. Do you have another question about Benshis or? Oh, this film was. I did leave out an important thing that's almost always brought up about this film. It was lost for 50 years. And Tenosuke Kunigasa found it in 1971 in a storage shed on his property. And now it's kind of a cult hit. I don't know if I go that far, but I just did.
You did. It's on tape. It's out there. I'm curious how. So you obviously put in hours and hours and hours of work composing the score for the film before you're meeting the narrator, who will be adding more audio to the experience. So I imagine you run through the whole thing a few times in advance of the event. How much does that impact what you do with the music? Do you end up rewriting things after you kind of rehearse with the extra element?
The first person we ever worked with was Ichiro, and I got to admit, we almost teared up at the end of the film the first time we rehearsed it with him, and we didn't change anything. A good sound system is like, it is so important. We don't know the volume level of Nanako. Like, so our first rehearsal is going to be with her not using a microphone. And one of the reasons why I liked to go use the percussion in this film was it's a dynamic film and there's like some action sequences, or at least there's large riots and people fighting. So we're going to be occasionally loud. And so it'll be interesting because maybe we were just lucky with Ichiro. Because it's an odd collaboration when you think of it. But I don't know if most people have a benchy nearby to rehearse with. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and if we change things, it'll be in a stripping away to give her voice room sort of way. I think that would be the biggest change, if any.
Sure.
Well, today happens to be National Silent Movie Day.
This is where we all clap in silence or something. Yeah.
So Turner Movie Classics is showing silent films all day today, and they're showing Out Yonder from 1919, directed by Ralph Ince, and it's accompanied by Dave Drazen. You've worked with Dave before, right?
Oh,
Frank?
wow, yeah.
Yeah, 9:45 tonight.
Wow.
Dave is accompanying Out Yonder.
We don't have Turner, and I actually love the station.
Yeah,
so
same here.
We'll have to pony up at some point.
But yeah, they're running silent films all day, so we'll have an opportunity to experience some silent film scores today.
Turner is not a sponsor, by the way. Just everybody out there. This is just a genuine plug.
But we're fans.
Yeah, we're fans.
What did you do with Dave, Frank?
Well, we did the circus thing. That's how you introduced us, Dave and I.
Yeah.
And then the next time that we worked together was with the Frida Kahlo Rivera show that the DFT did.
Oh yeah,
There was
it was the footage from the National Archives of Rivera painting.
Yeah, about in the Ford Motor Company archives. Is that what they were?
It was the National Archive.
But
it was from Ford, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because at the time, Ford Motor Company was cranking out a lot of films, but they were mostly industrial films. And they would be shown in farming communities so that they could sell some of those Ford tractors. Just an odd history, the way those films would be screened. But it was 2 hours of it. And I remember that being one of my most out-of-body experiences, because I was actually sick in the pit. Now, if you're sick in the pit, don't show up. But it was just David and I, and it was just a cold. This was long before COVID. But that was also, and thank you, DFT, because that was just an amazing experience, because we worked separately because he's in Chicago. And we just split up X number of sections of the film. And then I think you gave us, we had a couple of rehearsals, I think, at the DFT. Probably when he moved in, we just somehow squeezed in the time. But yeah, we're friends, so that's great to hear that he scored that film.
Yeah. So Page of Madness, the performance is on October 16th at 6 p.m. We're looking forward to it. I hope this was a good teaser for that. Join us next week on Thursdays at the museum. It's a studio visit with Carrie Gustafson of Glass Action Studios. So next week at 1 o'clock, please join us.
Yep, same time, same place. Yeah, this was really great, Frank. Really impressive work, really interesting conversation. And if our viewers found this interesting, they will most certainly find the actual film and score very interesting. I'm looking forward to it myself. Perhaps I could play us off with with your permission. You have another clip on your Vimeo channel of another portion of the in at Tokyo score you did. There's a second excerpt that's a few more minutes just to give people a taste of the sort of work you do, although it's different, right?
Oh, it's happier. It's happier.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the ways that the father keeps the kids happy is they fantasize about the days when he had plenty of sake and they had plenty of food. So there's this mime sequence at the end where they're having a feast, but it's all miming. And it's just really charming. So charming, I think.
Yeah, so we'll play us out with this, and again, hopefully we all see you next week here virtually for that artist studio visit, and then at the DFT on October 16th for the in-person screening and scoring of A Page of Madness. So now let's take a look at that other example of your work here.
Thanks, Ian.
Chan, 今何食いたい？やっぱりお酒かい？よし、一杯行こう。この酒、うまいだろう？おっとっと。色もいいな。どうだい？スルメ。魚ねえ。酒くれ、酒。やっぱりお酒飲んでる時が一番いいね。そらそうよ。じゃん、もっと大きなので飲みなよ。ね。いいのか？あら、まだあるから遠慮するなよ。おいおい、こぼすなよ。もったいないじゃねえか。じゃあ、おっとっとっといて。あ、ねえ、お札拾っちゃった。どうもしい。いい気持ちだね。そうよ。おい、飯食うか？おい、よそってやれよ。うめえか？お茶かけてやれよ。どうだ、うまくなったろ？おい、さすがに決まりが悪い。 ね。これはつまり。
猿絵の方へはどう言ったらいいんでしょうか。
猿絵ですかい？ああ、それはね、あそこのところ。
来なよ。
すぐですよ。
ありがとう存じます。まあ。君ちゃん。君ちゃん。夢中になって。
子供ってすぐ仲良くなるもんだね。
そうですわね。
ところで、お前さんゆうべ晩成館へ泊まったね。ってことは、お前さんもやっぱり宿なしかい？
My apologies, everybody. We're having some connection issues. That was an excerpt from In at Tokyo that was scored by Little Bang Theory and our guest today, Frank Pahl. We just wanted to give you another little taste of the sort of work that Frank Pahl does and will be doing upcoming at the Detroit Film Theater on October 16th for a different film, A Page of Madness. So we hope to see you all there. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week for our studio visit with Carrie Gustafsson of Glass Action Studio next Thursday at 1 p.m. See y'all there.